What's going on, everybody? I know a lot of you are probably thinking, what am I looking at here? But, today's video is going to be how I will completely overhaul Universal Studios Florida. Now, this is more of, like, ideas that I have and stuff that would happen if it was, if I was in charge of the park. Obviously, I'm not, so the odds of any of this happening, some of it I actually think is kind of realistic, a lot of it not really, but it's more of a fun series kind of video. Theoretical concepts more than anything, so yeah, we're gonna have a real Universal Studios map here, pull up on Google Maps, but it's realistic enough. Some areas are gonna be relatively unchanged, others, there's definitely some room for changes. So start with, I believe, yeah, this is the Minion Land area with Minion Mayhem and Villain Con right across from each other. I think there will be some changes here, so we'll start with Minion Mayhem now. I don't think the rides go now. I wouldn't remove the ride per se, especially given that this is their most popular property. And the ride itself still attracts relatively long waits on busy days. So, but what I would do is, those of you that don't know, this ride system is over 35 years old at this point. That's insane. This is the third ride that's gone into that building since the park opened. There was Hanna-Barbera that was there from like 1998 until 1989 until 2002, and then they had the Jimmy Neutron Nicktoon Blast for about 8 years after that, and then Mayhem's been there for 16 years basically at this point. No, 14, excuse me. So I would definitely change this 35-year-old ride system, but the ride film wouldn't change. I would just say make the ride system more like Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run or something a little bit more modern like that. Because, I mean, the fact that this ride system hasn't changed in 35 years is kind of mind-boggling to me, I'll be honest. So, yeah, that's all I really do with Minion Mayhem, is just update the ride system. And then Villain Con Minion Blast right across from it, I would say keep the Villain Con concept, but instead of that moving walkway, shooting dark ride that they call a ride, I think, standing on a moving walkway, I think calling that a ride is a little bit of a stretch. I would say keep the Villain Con concept, but make it like a trackless dark ride. And, if they really wanted to, cheap out, all things considered, they could, not change they don't have to change the exterior of the building if they don't want to. But, make that a trackless dark ride, and there you can still have your Minion Land with a more up-to-date ride system on that. And then a trackless dark ride themed Villain Con here. So now we're gonna go to, the Hollywood section, I think for the most part is gonna be pretty much unchanged. I wouldn't touch the Bourne Show there, and I would not touch Transformers either. Since, personally, in my opinion, I think that that's one of the better simulators at this particular park. Now we're gonna move on to the New York section. Mummy's gonna be untouched. Race to New York Story to be found. We're gonna get rid of that and replace it with a Secret Life of Pets dark ride, basically a clone of the one in California. And the movie actually takes place in New York, so this in the New York section actually makes a lot of sense. And given that the ride is not too popular, even realistically, I think this makes almost too much sense to not do. Yeah, I believe that's really the only changes I would do to the New York section. Actually, Transformers, I forgot, is in the New York section. I thought it was Hollywood, but it's New York. But yeah, that'll be unchanged. And now we're gonna move on to what is most people's favorite ride in the resort. And you know what? It'll probably become mine when I ride it in the next couple months. Fast and Furious Supercharged. Yeah, goodbye. That's I mean, I know it's gonna go next year anyway, but in my overhaul of the park, this will be no more also. And however, this is probably one of the most far-fetched ideas in this whole video. I would replace it with Universal's version of the Great Movie Ride, and it would include segments from E.T., Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, Jaws, some of the stuff from the Alfred Hitchcock, the art of making movies, all that was around. It would even include segments from Shrek, SpongeBob, and a lot of Universal and stuff like that. I think it would be an awesome idea. And this is, like, this building takes up like 2 acres, I think, so they could probably get something like that into here, Universal's Great Movie Ride. Now, do I think this will actually happen? I would be very shocked. But yeah, this is just kind of like, if it was up to me, that would be what's taking over Supercharged all day long. So, yeah, I think that's really all that's in the San Francisco section anyway. Now, Diagon Alley, untouched, completely untouched. We're just going to move on. Now, moving on to World Expo. Now, Men in Black would go, and this area would be what becomes Pokemon if it was up to me. So I would replace Men in Black Alien Attack with an interactive Pokemon Dark Ride, and I would replace the abandoned Fear Factor Live right next to it with a smaller Pokemon attraction. That would be the 2 attractions for the land. Of course, have, you know, shops and all that. And obviously, this Men in Black shop would become a Pokemon shop of some sort with Pokemon merch. And so yeah, World Expo would turn into World of Pokemon. And now we're gonna move on to the Simpsons area. Now, this, other than maybe the Great Movie Ride, this is the most far-fetched idea in the whole video. Now, I would turn the Springfield area into Bikini Bottom. I would, you know, quite frankly, I would honestly probably bulldoze the Simpsons ride building and just start from scratch. And, have that be like a Glove World themed roller coaster, or even a Miss Puff's Building School dark ride. I think that would be awesome in this spot. And, yeah, a lot of these eateries, like, this Krusty Burger can become, you know, the Krusty Krab easily. And hell, they wanted to, they can make this Moe's Tavern a chum bucket. And then, where I believe they had, where this is, they could have like a Jellyfish Fields like family SpongeBob ride. And, yeah, if they wanted to, they could knock down this Duff Brewery, and let's say if they were to do the Miss Puff's Bowling School there, where the Simpsons ride currently is, they can make this like a small Glove World roller coaster if they really wanted to, and use up some of this land as well. Yeah, again, I would be stunned if this actually ends up happening. But it's, yeah, again, this is just what would be happening if I was in charge. Now, so Animal Actors, I think, would go. However, it's been there a very long time, so I would probably relocate it into one of the other show buildings elsewhere in the park. Like, it could probably go where this I would put it where this Blue Brothers Appearing Live currently is, and then that would free up this whole section. And yeah, DreamWorks Land would remain pretty much unchanged. However, this would be a spot where they can do a water ride based off of multiple IPs. Yeah, that would fill a pretty big gap in the park's lineup, because, I mean, Islands of Adventure 3 water rides, Universal Studios Florida has 0. So, yeah, that would fill a pretty substantial gap, and, you have your little, DreamWorks Land expansion if you really wanted to. And, yeah. And, this, E.T. is timeless, that's remaining untouched. I mean, I think it would be cool, since I have the SpongeBob Store Pants right here, I think it would be cool if they rethemed this Kid's Own Pizza Company to Krusty Krab Pizza. Not that I think that'll happen, but look, it almost makes too much sense, really, when you think about it, considering they got the SpongeBob Store and the characters right there. Yeah, so, that's, pretty much it. This would pretty much all be what was happening if I were to be in charge of overhauling this park as a whole. Now, I think at least 80% of this is a wash and won't happen, but yeah, again, just theories I have. And I think I probably will eventually do a video for Islands and Epic, but yeah, I think studios was, of the 3 studios, definitely needed the most help. So, yeah. you guys enjoyed. Peace.